For most of our lives, people have told us what we should not do and what's wrong and what's bad for us, like overeating, not exercising, watching too much TV, etc. Well, today I'm going to be talking about one of the things that people tell us all the time that's really bad for us, which is smoking. Reasons why I think you should not smoke. One, it costs a lot of money, and two, it's really bad for your health. Let me give you a brief history of how smoking came about, because I believe that you should really know a little bit about the history of what someone's persuading you to turn away from. In 16,000 BC, tobacco started growing in America. Tobacco in its original state is native to only the Americans. In 1000 BC, people started using the leaves of tobacco plants to chew and smoke. Why they used tobacco, no one really knows. In 1493 AD, Rodrigo de Jerez became the first European smoker of history. He was one of Christopher Columbus's fellow explorers, and was said to smoke the first Cuban cigar. And so he brought one of those cigars with him back to England, and he started smoking in public, and people didn't know what it was, so they threw him in jail because they believed it was unholy. Sir John Hawkins was the first man to bring cigars to England. In the 1600s, tobacco production was now established in the New World. In 1830, the first Cuban cigars, as they were known then, arrived in London. In 1832, was the first paper rolled cigar. And in 1856, the first cigarette factory opened. And in 1858, fears about the effects of smoking on health first raised. In the 1900s, the first after-dinner cigar was established. And in 1914, the outbreak of World War I, cigarettes became rationed because when the men were overseas in World War I, they used cigarettes as a coping mechanism, and that would just take away their stress and their fears and stuff, because whatever it stimulates the brain and makes them forget. In 1950, evidence of lung cancer was published in the British Medical Journal. And in 1964, U.S. Surgeon General Luther Terry announces that smoking causes lung cancer. And in 1965, federal cigarettes labeling and advertising were they had to put the warning that cigarettes cause cancer on their labels. So we really haven't known that smoking causes cancer for very long. In 1973, there was the first U.S. federal restriction on smoking, and in 1992, the first nicotine patch was introduced. Now that you know some history, let me tell you why I think smoking is bad. Smoking is very addictive, and we all know because of the nicotine. The nicotine is a very fast-acting drug. It goes to your brain within 15 seconds of you inhaling it. Says the Medical News Today article. I think it's one of the worst drugs out there because, from what my mom told me, you don't like it at first, and so to get used to it, you have to smoke again and again. And every time you smoke, a little part of you dies, which is very you conscious, you know you're doing it. And so once you become addicted to smoking, it costs a lot. So I averaged the cost of smoking. The average pack costs between $5 to $6. So I just went with the middle and put $5.50. And then I went off my friend Mike, who used to smoke 2 packs a day. That came out to $11 a day, which is there 30 days in a month. That's $330 a month. That could be a car payment, if you think about it, close to a car payment. There are 12 months in the year, so that adds up to $3,960. You could buy a used car for that much, or you could pay for your tuition for some of your tuition for college. So there's lots of things you could do besides like pay for it instead of paying for cigarettes. Why smoking is also bad for you is because it causes cancer. There are there are over 2.4 million deaths in the U.S. alone, and 440,000 of them are caused by lung cancer. It says Medical News Today. 90% of lung cancer is caused from smoking. Other cancers you can develop while you smoke is bladder cancer, kidney cancer, throat cancer, mouth cancer, esophagus cancer, cancer of the pancreas, stomach cancer, cancer of the nose and sinuses, bowel cancer, and ovarian cancer. According to the Cancer Research Institute in the UK, a person dies every 15 minutes from lung cancer. So I have some personal stories about why I myself will never smoke, and why it's really hits hard, because my neighbor, his name is Steve, he smoked for a long time, and he was a really good, healthy guy. He was a detective. He had just gotten remarried, and he had a stroke, and the blood hardened in his brain, and so now he's has brain damage. He can't do anything by himself. He can't walk. He can't eat by himself. He can't go to the bathroom. He can't do anything. He can barely talk, and you try talking to him, and he just looks at you. And you try to communicate with him, but you can't. But he can hear you, but he just can't talk to you. And the other thing is that his wife is still with him even after all this happened, and he has a 24-hour nurse that will help him. Another story about why you don't want to smoke is because my aunt, she's my great aunt. She smoked for a good part of her life, and she had quit smoking for about 15 years. And then last October, she got sick and was in the hospital, and they found that her lungs started hardening, and she was in the hospital until December, around Christmas time. They were giving her morphine, trying to help her in so many ways, but her lungs were just hardening, and she couldn't breathe, and so they sent her home on hospice, and 3 days later, she died. And so it's was really sad for my whole family, for my grandma, for all of us. And what I think made it really hard was that I had to go help and clean out her house and see all the things that she used to be, and why she was so awesome as she was, and that her smoking, and back then I don't think she knew what the risks were, and that it caused her to die years later, even after she quit. So I hope you all learned something about why you shouldn't smoke. Again, smoking is costly, and it's really bad for your health, and it could potentially kill you. Thank you.
What? I see.
Okay.
This is that 1 point extra credit for
Alex, what did you think?
She had a good attention grabber and a good breathing. And I liked how she gave us a story, a history about the problem before she went on to the problem itself. And her stories were good, they made you think about what she was talking about. And she had good eye contact.
All right. The opening and greeting is okay. I wasn't all that interested in the attention device. You know what would have worked better as an attention device was that whole history lesson that you gave us. Although the history lesson needs to be cut down a bit because it takes almost half of your speech to get through, and it's really just background at best. It doesn't get to the crux of the argument. I don't know that there's much dispute about whether or not smoking is dangerous.